I wanted to talk to you about UI and UX for AI agents. This is a problem that I faced this summer when I was building an AI agent application, is that we were looking to upgrade the design of our AI agent application, and we interviewed a host of different designers from all parts of the world. And basically what I noticed is they didn't really have any good answers as to how you properly integrate a conversational AI into your application, how you, and how you. So we ended up, actually, I ended up using 2 AI tools to build this, to first generate the design and then generate the full front end for this application. But it got me curious. Am I missing things? Is there anything in interaction design, practice or theory? I'm not a designer, I'm a machine learning engineer, that I need to know. So I decided to do some research, and that's what I'm going to share with you today. So, quick intro. I'm Jonas Braadbaart. I did my master's in marketing here in Groningen, so it's sort of home turf. I'm an ML engineer, like I said. Recently doing a lot of front-end work as well, mostly generated by Cursor and Claude to build out front-ends, and that's hence my interest in UX design. I also just started an AI marketing automation agency, Lodestone Digital, and I run a small YouTube channel called AI in Practice. What I wanted to, so I introduced myself. I also wanted to get sort of an idea of where we're at in the audience. So if you can raise your hand if you're using AI in your day-to-day. Oh, everyone, that's great. And how many of you are actually building AI agent applications right now? So that's fewer. And how many of you are talking to your AI agent with personal pronouns, as if it were a human? We, you, he. That's funny, right? Because a year ago there was this story at Google, an engineer got fired because he thought his AI was conscious. I thought it was very silly at the time. But basically after working with Claude for the last 4 or 5 months, I'm just beginning to anthropomorphize myself. So it's one of the things I'm just curious to see if this is a proper design pattern or not. And that's also the way I approach this problem, as I started with mental models for AI agents, so for UX design, which the only research I could find on this was an old consumer research but done by Nielsen Norman Group in 2019, where they interviewed, they did user research, just people not in AI tech, and they found basically 3 different mental models used interacting with AI. You have to remember this is 2019, so this is pre-ChatGPT. This is Siri, Alexa, Google are basically the things that they have at the time. And they found the 3 models that they found were either a helpful assistant, a knowledge repository, or an interface. I think that's so interface to a database, to internet access, those kind of things. But given all the sea change that we've seen in the last couple of years, I thought it would be interesting to do a revision of this. So that's also and bucketing things in mental models. And mental models basically are the way I look at them, they're a collection of different cognitive schemas. Cognitive schemas are the automations with which we humans run our lives. So if you've ever read Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, they're our defense against cognitive overload, so that we can focus on high-level tasks while we do things the way we used to doing them, because we learned that that's the way to do them. Whether that's good or bad, it's not a value judgment, it's just how we do things. Right? And any user of your AI application will have the same cognitive schemas, the same mental models, but different, right? They're unique to that individual, and they're based on their past experiences. So one thing we can already learn from this is that interaction design should take into account the reference category of the software that they've used before, or if they're live experiences. But we cannot really predict them, and we should definitely also do user research to figure out, because we are probably going to be more informed by AI about what's going on in AI than they are. So I just mentioned that in 2019 it was the 3 mental models that were most common that Nielsen Norman Group found. Well, what I did is I built a bunch of AI agents to scrape a bunch of to scrape what ended up only 200 AI agent websites, which included the top consumer domains, along with all the best-in-class AI agent startups that are currently being built. So the agents, and these are the 4 models that I found. So you have digital assistants, which are still very much the go-to mental model for most people when they think about AI. There are software categories. This is mostly B2B services where they define their AI in reference to something that already existed, that users are familiar with, working with. There's team members, which is a growing category, and companions, which is more for building relationships. And this is also what you find. The designers, and this is what the agents also found. So looking at all these different AI agent startup designs. So this is not, so just to be clear, this is not user research, this is designer research, basically, where we're looking at what the designers, the templates that the designers use to design to integrate AI into their websites. So what the research agents do is they crawl the sitemap, find the most relevant pages to extract information on design from, then analyze those, and then there's other agents that do generate meta-analysis. One of the agents is a classifier, for which I specified a fixed set of categories, and this is what the agents found, or how they tag the different websites. So we ended up with there were some scraping issues, so we ended up with 150 websites. So still, the vast majority of them are designed. They're presented to the user as a digital assistant. And digital assistant is different from, for example, an AI companion, in that it's task specific. So you ask it to do something, it will execute that task. But there is quite a surprising few which are a software category as well. Something I didn't thought of before doing this research, but after seeing so many designs, it seems quite obvious in hindsight. And then there are a few that are being presented as team members, and the very select few that are presented as companions. And you can see this in the cognitive schemas. So how in the design, the features, the benefits are explained to the users. A lot of them are explained at the level of the task. A few are, quite a few as well, use processes, so existing processes. Say you're doing performance marketing as a marketeer, and you want to use a new AI tool, then the performance marketing AI tool will use the same frame, the same steps in the process, but then add some AI flavor to it. Coworkers, rare but growing category, and benefits is very rare. And this is something also common with what a lot of the discussions in mainstream media is is there actually any value in AI? I think the language of benefits will probably see a lot of increases once there are more mature AI agents as well. Another thing that the agents found were that there are 4 core interaction patterns that are currently being used across all these different websites. So you have the chat interface is still very much the dominant. I mean, every site you open these days, even products that we're using before, will now have a chat interface, right? But there is actually a split, which is bigger than I thought. That there is some of them are conversational in that you chat, interact with them, and they will give you a response in natural language. But quite a few are actually also task-based. So quite a few more than I expected. So, for example, think of a site like Midjourney, where you enter in a prompt and it will generate an image for you. So the response is not a conversation. It's you're iterating on designs or images or videos or whatever it may be. What I also found was that there is actually, if you're building AI agents right now, you need to build them multimodal. So you need to have files, chat, voice if you can, as well, because that's what users have come to expect with advances in the last 6 to 8 months. And what we're not seeing enough of, but what is again a growing category, is that of background automations. Right now, the defining interaction model is still conversational, so it's near real time. Users are happy to wait for the agents to come up with a response, but this, I think, is something that will change with more mature AI capabilities, with more comprehensive AI agent automation frameworks. Right, and so that's also, this also has its limitations, right? So there is, it is very easy to onboard users, to get them to try out a prompt, but it also hides away a lot of the complexity and maybe limits what users can do with your application. So to counter that, you could build something task specific, like Midjourney again as an example, but it won't be as flexible as it would otherwise be. And you see this in a lot of the power users in the early days, that they would have to tag the images with all kinds of different tags to make sure that they get the right image out of it, like grainage and I don't know, exposure rates and those kind of things. Something no consumer would ever think to do. So you have to sink hundreds of hours into your learning all those skills. And it's of course not something we want to do when building easy, intuitive software products. Yeah. The other thing that I noticed that the agents actually noticed, I didn't notice this. This is something that Claude mentioned, is that there's actually not a lot of collaboration and multi-agent interactions yet. The only examples I could think of were some open source projects where they have game-like environments to simulate teams of AI agents working together, but this is very rare actually. This is something I didn't notice, but we'll probably also see more of this going forward. The other thing indeed I do agree with is that integration between, for example, files, images, text, often is sort of, it's missing something. It's you can even have it analyze a file, but then working on it, you will need to recontextualize your prompts to make sure that it gets the right context, the right meaning. It won't as easily work together. And the last thing I think is also important is indeed visualization of how agents reason, the process behind it. I see it more and more, but it's still nascent at this point. So explaining exactly what the agent's doing in the background so that the users can upgrade their mental models of the software they're working with, learn the capabilities and limitations, something is still in its infancy as well. And this, I think, is part of a broader trend, right? So from high-touch AI, basically, where just to look at, for example, AI coding assistants, where I was working with GitHub Copilot before, and it could do basically chat completion, just tab. It would just, maybe complete a sentence, maybe write a function for me. Whereas now I can ask agents to ask the LLMs in my IDE to generate entire features. And there has just been a release from Cursor where they have full-on AI agent capabilities, so you can just describe your app and it will do all the work for you. Right? So this is something part of a broader trend, in my opinion. All right, so what I wanted to do was take some time for the three main categories, software categories, or the mental models that users have of these AI tools, is to go over the best practices based on what I found from the current. This is the current state of the art, right? And as I said in the previous slide, we're in of course, this is a growing field. This is an evolving field, and what is relevant today won't be relevant next year. There's a lot of voices saying that 2025 will be the year of AI agents. I'm one of them. I think that this is going to be the next big wave, and it will, of course, lead to different practices for UI and UX design. But so this is what works right now. So if you're mimicking an existing software category, but you're building it from the ground up with AI capabilities, the first thing, of course, you want to do is make sure the UI and UX look exactly as users expect them to. So, for example, you're building an AI enhanced word processor. You need to have all the functions and capabilities in there that your regular word processor has, which people have 20, 30 years experience working with. And then you can slowly add in the AI capabilities. So, of course, we'll find the strategic ways where to add them so that users can also enjoy the other ones. And that's where the other thing comes in. The second point is the onboarding is crucial to make sure users understand the benefits of having AI in their software. So, and when you in software categories, because it's more complex, it's usually process-based automations that you're looking at, you need to have probably the best way to do this is with templates or videos But templates is probably the best way to do this. So structured onboarding processes are crucial here. And the other things that and the other main point is that the same things that apply to any software, the traditional UI UX design principles also apply here. So clean design, contrast, those kind of things. They still matter, of course. For digital assistants, where the primary interface is a chat-based interface, so the onboarding again is crucial. That's the first thing is you want to showcase what exactly the agent can do. So showcase maybe 50% of the capabilities with example prompts already. Because if you don't, and I've noticed this as well, building AI assistants myself, users are very impatient. They will do one thing, it doesn't match with their expectations, the mental model they have of the software category of the AI application, and they will just stop trying if you don't get this, if you don't nail this first experience with the AI agent or AI application. And the other thing is to provide clear visual feedback, so status, progress, state, what the agent is doing. Teach them a better mental model of how your AI application works as you go along, and the best way to do this, I think, is with visual cues. Yeah, I already mentioned multimodal interaction. And the last thing you can do, and this is more for power users, once they're actively engaged as users, is to give them as much controls as you possibly can. So all the dials and whistles, don't show them during the onboarding, or maybe hint at them, but they should be there so that the more advanced users can also get the full benefits from the AI application without necessarily harming the 80% of the users that won't be using those tools. For team members, it's a little bit different. So you have the chat-based interface, which is something coworkers, I mean, most office environments have some kind of chat tool like Slack or Teams. So this is a natural place to integrate these virtual team members, digital team members, which is also what you see happening quite a bit. And so the key here is personification. So you want them to interact with them as they would with another colleague working remotely, for example. So give them a consistent personality. Give them an avatar or profile picture. So that sets the expectations of what they can, in a way that you would, in an easy way, because it matches a mental model they have of that role, of that person, of the other colleagues they had before that were flesh and blood, right? So, and these agents, of course, require different integrations with the basic office, whatever you have in your digital workplace. Lastly, I wanted to also highlight this. I think this is important if you're doing, because we're on the topic of UI and UX design, where when you're building human AI interactions, whether you're doing so unconsciously or consciously, I think it's important to also keep in mind how they affect human-to-human interactions. So because as we just talked about mental models, cognitive schema, right? They get updated by experiences. And the more the precedents you set in human AI interactions, especially if there's a lot of those, will also impact the real world, right, or our human-to-human interactions. Yeah, so that's about all I had. So key takeaways is before you start building an AI agent, or if you already have an AI application, just take a step back, think about the mental model that you're working within, then do user research. Don't assume, I mean, that's probably more true for developers in the room, but don't assume that your mental model of AI is the same as that of the regular Joe on the street, right? So make sure that the user expectations, that you've nailed those correctly, that you know what kind of users you have. And then work out the cognitive schema that they're working with, so the expectations they have within the mental model that you want to design your AI agent application in. And then work with those. And this is, of course, an evolving field. So expectations are set and reset when new capabilities become available. Like I said, for example, multimodal capabilities a year ago, they wouldn't have been a must-have. Today they are. So expectations get raised. You need to take this into account as you design. And the other thing that's evolving is, of course, are the capabilities of AI technology themselves. which as models get more powerful, as different AI agent frameworks appear, as it becomes easier and easier to hook in all kinds of data sources into your AI applications, it's also important to prepare the ground for those kind of advances when designing your AI agent applications. That's all I had. Are there any questions?